Like I said, Donna sent me an email to tell me that she's going to be late. Um, Two other girls, I don't know if didn't send me an email this morning, so couldn't tell. All right, all right. So it shouldn't be long until we start this class. So maybe my microphone doesn't have to be this close. Let me see. Yeah, yeah, it has to. Well, okay. Put that there. This. There you go. Alright. We'll start in maybe a few minutes from now. Alright. So let's oh forgot. Yeah, there you go. So okay. Hello? Yeah. Sorry? Yeah. So, well, we'll start right away, and if people connect later on, then it will be that. So, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So, yeah, I also uploaded the this morning's class PowerPoint on Moodle, so it can be accessible for you. So, well, first of all, I want to address that the first assignment topic, which is the first reflective logbook, that you have to, well, either send me an email with your assignment, or deposit it on Moodle. So yeah, there it is. All right. So yeah, let's start right away. So we can yeah, finish as soon as possible, not because I don't want to teach it, only because I don't want to, um burn inside my 9 feet yeah, my 9 feet square office, and there's no air conditioner or any sort of, no fan, anything like. Well, yes, there is fan, but from my computer, which send me a hot hair, so it doesn't help at all. Also, I'm kind of lucky because I do have the sun in my window, but well, I'm lucky if it's during the winter, but right now I'm feeling that my luck is not considered as luck. So yeah, it doesn't help. Plus, I have 2 lights for the lightning and 3 screens, plus my plus my cell phone that is filming right now. So there's a lot of heat right here. So yeah, so I will go through all today's class. In I've planned to do it within an hour and a half, max. So there won't I won't take breaks from this lecture. Um, because I want to address everything that I have planned to during this shorter period of time. So, today's topic will be touchscreen in education, and more particularly interactive boards and tablets. If you don't mind, Stacy, I will mute your microphone. Well, okay. And if you want to ask me a question, you simply have to unmute it then, right? So yeah, we'll discuss about touchscreen in education, and more particularly interactive boards and tablets. Well, first of all, because touchscreen in education tend to be more and more present in classroom. So actually must address that topic. And this was, kind of controversial when they first got in class in 2005 in Quebec's classroom. Um, because like a lot of first first implementation of technologies, or new curriculum or something like that in education, there was some sort of resistance. I mean, yes, from one side there was kind of resistance, and this is understandable, because there was some lack of training, um, for the teachers, and it happens really really fast. Sorry, I do also have, know that I do also have allergies, which doesn't help at all. So yeah, that's why I might have to go at the bathroom sometimes. So yeah, know that. So yeah, like I said, let me. It's a little bit small there. Hang on. Come on. Alright, so there. Well, first of all, let's address that, interactive board definition, or simply to make sure that we do talk about the same thing, the same tool, the same technology. So, first thing I want to say is the main difference between an interactive board and a PC is that interactive board combines multiple technologies we use actually to teach with in one tool. So interactive board included a PC, a projector. It replaces the blackboard, the stile, also replacing the chalk, and Hi, Alexandra. So yeah, so this being said, interactive board is, the main difference between PC with the PC is that it combines multiple technologies in one. So it is easier to well, it's used to be easier to manipulate. So like I just said, it first came in Quebec's class around 2005. I'm not quite sure about that, but basically there were two main companies of those interactive board, which was, we were at first there was a lot of interactive board. Um, it's how the companies call it, and on the other hand, there was all the smart boards. So, um, and differences between those two are not quite significant enough for me to address that right now. And I do remember as well. Last semester during winter, I taught this class, and during class, face-to-face class, we had to, I invited students to actually manipulate and use interactive board, which was appreciated by students, which we cannot do right here according to the actual situation. But they also noted that software that I introduced to them in class was not the one they used during their in an actual class in front of students. So it may have some differences, and this is another reason why I do not focus this class on how to use the softwares around. That's going to be your job when you'll be in a school. You will be, first teaching. You will have to explore those technologies prior to using them. So since 2005, there are not many, and I included the word relevant. Not many relevant researches have been made on the use and effect of interactive board in class, but still, it is a technology that I think, and this is my word, I think this interactive board is the most impactful technology that changes the classroom since the introduction of personal computers in so yeah, this is kind of big, and it was also done massively. So they tried it in some different school before buying for every class in Quebec school, but yeah, now I think that every classroom in the province have its own interactive board, which uh, which replaced the uh, the iconic blackboard. Yeah, and there was some resistance from not only teachers but administrators as well, and we're going to discuss about that, about what was the main critique about those interactive boards. So first of all, what's an interactive board? It might sound obvious, but I felt that it was I needed to address that definition first. So according to Alexandre Garot, which is a friend of mine, in his thesis, an interactive board, he actually called it a TNI, which stand for sorry, I do have the English version of it in my head. So, tableau numérique interactif, yeah, digital act interactive board or something like that. Yeah, it is a white, yeah, interactive whiteboard or stuff. Yeah. So an interactive board is composed of white digital screen with which it's possible to interact by using a stylus, especially designed for this purpose. So it's a free translation, obviously, because as you might notice, Alexandre Garot is a French name, so its thesis was in French, so I had to translate it. So, well, anyway. And how does it differs from a conventional PC? Well, most of the time, authors said that it with its interactivity potential. So, with a PC, you do have less moment where you actually interacting with the technology, and the response might not be instant. And with interactive board, you can touch, and there's it's more intuitive, it's more user friendly technology than it might be for a keyboard and mouse, according, for example, for a PC. So yeah, and how it is actually used in classroom, and how it is perceived, also how it is viewed by amongst both teachers and students in the province. So yeah, I found a survey by Thierry Carcenti from the University of Montreal, Université de Montréal. A survey among 1,131 teachers and 11,683 students. So this is a big study that included a lot of people. In order to measure these are not the author's word, but I would say that it meant to measure the level of satisfaction, as I could say. And so almost half of the teachers said that they use it always too often, and 39.2% said they use it sometime too rarely. So even, and that student was in 2016. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So yeah, half of the teachers said to use it always too often, and 39% said they use it sometime too rarely. So still 10 or 11 years before they first came into the classroom, there's still teachers that not using the interactive board. And why? This is another question that Carcenti and his team wanted to answer, at least to address when they asked teachers and students. So teachers who said to use it always too often justify that use because, well, first of all, it is easier to show material in front of the class with the interactive board. So that's what they said. It is also easier to switch from internet web page to not to document, for example, a notebook or any other PowerPoint presentation or some other tools, or document they add to show in front of the class. They also mentioned that they replaced conventional. Oh, sorry. They also replaced conventional Blackboard by interactive boards. So, and this is something that have been pointed out to be some sort of negative point of the interactive board implementation. So this yeah, and some of the students Yeah, that's a very good question, because actually they were used to teach with a conventional blackboard, and need some time to adapt, and some time to make sure to understand the technology that they will have to use. Well, in that case, interactive boards. So and this demands time, energy, and some kind of uh, um, adaptability, as I can say, a period of adaptation in order to really understand and really use that new technology. And some teachers from specific courses, for example, mathematic courses, which is with teachers actually found that it was easier to write mathematic formula on the blackboard, or draw angles, or do stuff like that. And this at first was mostly because they didn't really knew the technology. They did not really knew how to properly use the interactive board at first. So, but maybe if you ask teacher today, it might be different. Their answer might be different than it was in 2016. So, yeah, this was some sort of negative by some, but not all of the teachers said that. Um, Also, okay, this is the same. All right. And teachers who said, yeah, I'm right here. And teacher who said to use it sometime too rarely, said it was too complex to use. There was also some technical issues um, that happened with the first introduction of that technology in class, and they sometimes also have some negative conception about technology at large, but more specifically about the interactive board. And sometimes we we do have a negative perception of something because we never use it. We've never used it before, or we've never seen it before. So um, yeah. Um, they also asked to those teachers how they manage to involve or not their students' participation in the use of interactive board. And this is interesting because only 4% answered that they involve always too often their student. And by involving, I mean asking the student to actually use it. Okay, so not only asking question and passively students being passively answering questions, um, involving it's more than that. So only 4% of the teachers, sorry, answer that they involve always too often their student. And this is understandable from a teacher point of view, because when you're not comfortable with a technology, you might not be tempted to ask the student to use it, because you don't yourself understand properly that technology. While 23% of the participant sometime engage the students, and 63.3% rarely, and 9.3% of the respondents said they never asked their student to use the IB. Main reason put forward was class management and lack of technical knowledge. Of course, class management being um, it might distract some student, or the attention being focused on the student in front of the class, and instead of all the other students sitting at their desk. So these are the main reasons that have been put forward by those teachers. And when it comes to the students, because they also asked the students their point of view about the use of the interactive board, because this is the main reason why we decided to introduce them in the classroom. We did not, government did not did not introduce the interactive board in the classroom because it was new, or it was other for other reasons. Basically, it was like I said, I think it was on the first or second class of the semester. I said that school have to, adapt their structure in order to answer, or to be, to adjust their structure in order to be more relevant to the student reality, which is a reality that is driven by technologies and other kind of stuff. So those students, 4.4% of them said that their teachers allow them to use the interactive board always too often. 12.9% they said sometime, and 82.7% rarely to never. So this can lead to some serious issues, since most of the learnings come from an active usage of the interactive board by students. Otherwise, it's nothing more than a big e-reader. So what's the point of introducing a technology if students cannot interact with it? This is the main reason why we include the interactive board. It's to give the opportunity to students to actually being engaged in their learning, and actually being in contact with technology, not only passively receiving information and answering asked questions, but being part of that teaching. So yeah, it can lead to some serious issues, and by serious, it's kind of the time to being relative about this word, but issues being, by not engaging the students in using the interactive board, you're losing actually all the potential of that tool, because like I said, this is not a tool that was meant to be, well, yes, of course it was meant to be used by teachers, but by students as well. And if they are passively listening, they are not interacting with that technology. Most of the time, so most of the time students are invited to go write the answer in front of class, or help teachers to resolve a technical problem. This is how the students reported how they use the interactive board in class. I think I duplicated. Yeah, sorry. There you go. So so most of the time students are invited to go write the answer in front of class, or help teacher to resolve a technical problem, which is not different as go in front of the class and write on the blackboard, or write on an interactive board. There's no difference between them. So yeah. So linking these results to Beauchamp and Kenwell theoretical framework on the use of interactive board, we can see that a vast majority of teachers find themselves to be in the authoritarian usage of IB. We'll get in through that, and I'll try to make it more comprehensible. So basically, these authors identified 5 different kind of IB interactive board usage. Well, first of all, the non-interactive use. Second of all, the sorry, I do have difficulty with that word. Authoritarian use. Third, dialectic use. Fourth, dialogic use, and 5, synergetic use. We'll get into it, but basically what you want to reach, what level you want to reach in those is at least a dialectic use, which is the 3rd level of using the interactive board. These 5 categories are built around 4 indicators and will drive or explain, the general usage of interactive board. Well, first of all, the interaction with the class. Between student and teachers, how that interaction between the student and the students and the teacher, how that interaction is going to guide or drive the pace or the orientation of the activities that are conducted in class. There's also a peer-to-peer interaction between students, of course, and without the teacher's interaction. How the teachers ask their students to interact between them. Is he or she asking any interaction at all? So they are not allowed to discuss between them. Or if they essentially working together. So this is another indicators that might explain why a teacher use an interactive board this way or another way. It's also driven by the students' individual interaction in class, of course, and the interaction in class between asked work and the IB usage. So the work that teacher asked this students to do, is it a work or exercises or activities that demand students to interact with the interactive board, or only with their manual, only with their book. So these are indicators that might explain the general usage of interactive board by both students and teachers. So of course, if a lecture in class is most of the time dictated by teacher speaking in front of the class, of course the interaction with the interactive board might be limited regarding to the way that teacher decided to present the content in class. So if we address the first category, which is the non-interactive use, well, obviously the word itself tell us about what it is. So teacher use the interactive board as conventional blackboard. So basically what the teacher do in that category is basically simply writing notes, as he will might be doing with the conventional blackboard. And students' role is passive and can be summarized as copying what's presented. So really basic use, and this is not something that we want to reach as a teacher, because we're losing all the potential of the interactive board with that kind of usage. Um, the authoritarian use is basically characterized by the teacher use of interactive board as a conventional blackboard, but used to show more than lectures. So you might be using the interactive board in order to show web pages, other softwares for drawing or sh- or shaping, for example, a square. Sorry, or other stuff, other stuff like that, which cannot be actually done with simply using a conventional blackboard. So we're a step forward regarding the use or exploiting potential of that technology. Students' role is also active but limited to a usage dictated by teacher's instruction. For example, asking student to come in front of the class, write the answer on the board, and then he can go back sitting in front of behind his desk. So this is basic interaction, but at least there's at least sorry, there is an interaction, but we can do much more with the interactive board than simply ask student to go in front of the class. When we're talking about dialectic use of an IB, basically means that teacher used the interactive board to stimulate students' interaction in order to socially construct knowledge. So, for example, you might simply ask student to let's say maybe you wanted to do I'm trying to find example right away. Teacher using student interaction. So basically you do not only ask. Okay, I'll try and find a more concrete example of that. Maybe it will come later. Yeah, maybe for example, he asks student, we're in mathematic classroom. Teacher asks student to complete exercises about, let's say, curves and yeah, he asks student to complete a task about geometrical shapes. So students are and the teachers say you can use this software I choose with the interactive board in order to present a more visual version of square instead of simply drawing it in on a with conventional paper and pen method. So yeah, maybe we'll ask a student come in class and interact with other and say, oh, is this a square or is this a rectangle? I don't know, but basically put available the interactive board and a software that you have chosen in order to complete a task, and this enable students to interact each other while they use the interactive board. So yeah, it's for the dialectic use, and while the dialogic use, which can be real close from each other, basically defined by the teacher use interactive board to stimulate students' interaction in order to socially construct knowledge. This is the same as the third level of using the interactive board. but this time teacher will sometime contribute to this knowledge construction. So they don't teacher not only ask students come in front of class and you use the interactive board, but he might be interacting with them as well. So he might be constructing that knowledge with them. He might give counter examples, or will stimulate that kind of reflection, that kind of interaction between the students. So in the student use of the IB and use the IB, and they decide which tool or software they have to use. So instead of using a software that the teacher have priorly decided, students are well informed enough in order to choose their own software, to choose their own their own software, basically with the interactive board. So this is the main difference between. And synergistic use. Teachers equally collaborate with students in the knowledge construction or critical reflection on a topic and on use of the IB. So in not only use the interactive board in order to construct knowledge about content, specific content, but also discuss with the student about the advantage or disadvantage of some software they are using. So they are not only reflecting about content that they are learning, but also on the method they are using, and in this case it's the interactive board. So students use the interactive board and especially the software in order to program or construct a model, a solution, or problem. And this is a much more higher level of using the interactive board. And this, the higher level of usage of the interactive board cannot be achieved unless the teacher is perfectly mastering the interactive board or the software they use with the interactive board. And well, let's go back to Carson T and his team study in 2016, as they asked a teacher their main purpose of using the IB in class. So why are you using, and why this IB is mostly most of the time used for? And you will know that the level of interaction or the level of usage of the interactive board by teachers might not reflect the higher level of usage. Okay, so 51.6% answered that they basically use the interactive board in order to present theory, concept, material, etc., etc. So basically presenting something. 90.3% answered for internet research, and 10.8% for showing videos, and 6.9% for presenting class notes. So if we do the math, 60, 70, 80, 86, or maybe 89, 88, or 89% of the teachers in that Carson T study, well, basically 88 or 89% of those teachers kind of use the non-interactive use of the IB. So they are using the interactive board, but only for help in their teaching, not help in students learning. So, and those numbers tell us a lot about the predominant type of IB usage among teachers. Like I said, the predominant type of IB usage, which is the non-interactive use, and this can be problematic because this can cause some issues because we're not with the non-interactive use, we're not exploiting fully exploiting the potential of that tool. So do teachers and students like using the IB? Well, 99.2%, and this is kind of high number of the students preferring using an IB over an interactive board over conventional blackboard, and 73.6% of the teacher preferred using an interactive board over a blackboard. So when you hear people saying that teacher did not like the introduction of interactive board, well, this is kind of false, because and this because they do find advantage in using that technology. They manage to quickly adapt their teaching to that technology, but exploring it and slowly getting used to all of the software that you can use with interactive board. And this is something that you will be invited to do as well when you will be you will have your own classroom. Like I said at the start of the class, presenting you technical way to use this software or this software is not the best way to introduce you to interactive board, because technology is evolving so quickly that the thing that I teach about a software or another software today might not be relevant in 1, 2, or 3 years. So this is something that you will have to do when you will have your own classroom. And still, teachers seems to be less enthusiastic about using IB. Why? This is not. Might not seem. This might seem obvious regarding to what we have said since the debut of the class. So some found it complicated. Some said interactive board wasn't working in some class, and some clearly said that they never asked for it, so I don't use it at all. So you can feel that kind of um, reluctant kind of attitude of teachers while about using the interactive board. So yeah, it is complicated, but it takes time. I'm telling you, it takes time, but this is something you will. I'm convinced about that you will be able to reach. You might have noticed it already, but my level of concentration is drastically dropping. So, and this is mainly because of the heat right now. For screen and sun right in my window might not be the best way to keep a high level of energy right now, but I'll do my best from now on. What do students think of the main benefit of using interactive board over Blackboard? And this is interesting because this give us more information about how to use it and how student want us to use it. 23.5% think it was because of its internet access facility. Internet access. 19.1% of the students think that the main benefit of using the interactive board over the Blackboard was because of the visual support it provides. 12.2% for the ease of watching videos, and uh, other others think because it gave greater motivation to learn, a diversity of teaching method, or it facil or 9.1% because it basically facilitates general learning. It's still important to know that the top three answers are not specific to interactive board, because you can have internet access with other technology, for example, PC or tablets, etc., etc. Visual support, you can have it with, conventional PC and projector, by using PowerPoint, for example, watching video as well. So it is also important to know that answers may depend on students' limited experience with the IB, which is mostly driven by teacher usage of the IB, of the interactive board. For example, if a student is in a classroom where a teacher only use the interactive board in order to watch videos on YouTube, well, students are not aware of all the other possibilities that an interactive board can offer. So it might be some bias regarding that point, but still, this is something that they they expressed uh, to like. It is it is also interesting to have a look at some relationship in the result. Well, first between the interactive board use frequency and the student's perception on the interactive board impact on their learning. Well, what does this mean is that the more a teacher use the interactive board in class, the more motivation tend to be from these students. Okay, so when a teacher uses the interactive board more frequently, the overall satisfaction at school tend to be higher as well as the academic grades and concentration in class. So the higher the frequency is and the quality of the interactions with the interactive board, the higher the numbers tend to be. So basically what does this mean is that a more frequently used of the interactive board by the teachers might have an impact or might have effect on motivation, overall satisfaction from students, on their academic grades, and on their concentration in class. And I say might be because, like you can see, the correlation between those variable are not is not perfect. And this depend also from how they use the interactive board, for how long they use the interactive board, in which course they use the interactive board. So there's a lot that these numbers don't tell us, but still this is some relevant information in order to say that yes, interactive board do actually have impact on students' learning, on student and on teachers teaching as well. Sorry. Not that note. Sorry. Note that these results expressed a correlation between the frequency of the interactive board usage in the student's classroom and their perception of the effect of the interactive board, and not the actual effect, because this was expressed by the students. This was not actually measured. But still, this relevant of something else, of something that might happen when you use the interactive board instead of a conventional blackboard. And like I wrote right here, but still this is relevant of something else. Taking in consideration, there's only 4% of the respondent teachers answering that they always to often use, often ask their students to use the interactive board. Well, you know, the impact of using the interactive board might not be the same in every classroom, only on a 4% classroom where the teachers use the interactive board or ask their students to use the interactive board always or often. Sorry. And the main reasons of using interactive board or blackboard, teachers expressed, beside the fact that they no longer have access to a blackboard, of course. Well, 23.2% of them put forward the internet access factor. Some of them also answered the visual support that it provide, that the interactive board provides. Teachers also noted an increase in student motivation. This might be caused also by some sort of, you know, new technology effect. You know, when you introduce something first, it might have, you know, a certain, you know, instant hype about that technology. So yeah, 9.5% said it diversifies the teaching method, and 6.3% for effective teaching, better learning, and teachers' organization as well. And it is not surprising to see a stone between students and teachers answered, you know, regarding the reason why, the main reasons why they use the interactive board over a blackboard. So, well, I did present to you those numbers in order to give you a more comprehensive overview of the situation of using the interactive board in class. But this does not tell you how to use it, of course. Well, if we were together face to face in a classroom, sorry, it would have been easier. It would have been easier to teach you how to use it, actually, but now it's kind of hard, and you will know that most of the learning, well, and especially for that tool, but this is for all technological tool as well. But the main learning you will do is when you will be manipulating those software and tools inside a classroom. So right here, it was only to give you a quick overview of the situation about what teachers regarding to their own experiences with the technology, how they feel about that using that technology, how they what advantage they found in those technology, and what are the issues that they found, so you can relate when you will be using yourself that technology. When it comes to the challenge identified by teachers, most of them, 70.6%, said that there was technical issues, of course, and this might be the answer as well for most of the technical digital tools that they were using, that they will use. 17% answered that it was time consuming at first, of course, and 9.6% said that the screen was too small, and some students, even answered that they had a bigger TV at home than the screen of the interactive board in their classroom. So this might be problematic for them. And also the perceived frequency of those issues being 93.5% always or often, and 9 times out of 10 teachers needed the assistance of the school technical to solve their issues. So let's go back here. So, Pamuk and al. In 2013 noted some result that might be related to the Kersanti and his colleague study in 2016. So Pamuk and al. Noted that a positive attitude from both teachers and students toward interactive board. Most of the teachers see the interactive board as an internet-supported projection device used to passively show class content on screen. But I'm telling you that the interactive board does more than that. And the only way to know it is to actually explore all the possibilities with that tool. A lack of interactivity between interactive board and student. Interactive board was most likely to be actively used in biology, geometry, geography, and English language courses. But most importantly, they found that issues that were revealed by teachers as technical issues were more about pedagogical and classroom management issues in a given context. So when I tell you to take time to explore that technology, it's to avoid that kind of issues between the way you usually teach in front of a class and the way you teach with the usage of an interactive board. So according to these authors, an effective use of the interactive board depends on how well teachers can use these technology, how well they are prepared to use these technology, how they explored that technology prior to using it. Beside that, researchers said that one of the positive outcomes of the project, the use of the interactive board, is the increase of communication and collaboration, especially in technical issues between between teachers and students. They also stressed that because the technology alone is insufficient to create such a desired impact, teachers need to take into account a kind of pedagogy that works best for the context of a particular lesson. So this is not something that any university class can teach you about. This is something that experience will teach you about. So yeah, the importance of thinking a way to introduce a technology in order to answer some specific pedagogical intention, and this is something that I will be repeating over and over again, because it's the main mistake that I think that the main mistakes teachers do when they want to introduce a new technology is to first introduce that technology or select the technology and then select the content where the technology will be used. But this is this is the opposite. You have to select the content and choose what are your pedagogical intention, and afterward choose a technology in order to answer those pedagogical intentions. And what about tablets now? 1023. Yeah, I'll go faster for that part. A tablet can, as commonly known as iPads, is defined as a wireless touchscreen personal computer, sorry, that is smaller than a notebook but larger than a smartphone. Compared to PC, touchscreen technology provides an easier and more user-friendly interface, and especially for younger students, as they haven't developed, this kind of some sort of mobility skills with their hands and fingers, so it might not be precise enough to use a keyboard and mouse, but will be easier to manipulate touchscreen. If PC were slowly introduced into people's home, nowadays they are integral part of individual lives, and this is the same phenomenon that we are observing with tablets, as more than the half of 0 to 8 years old Americans have access to tablet at home in 2011, which I guess that those numbers tend to be higher today. If we ask how many students in the country or in the province are using or have already used touchscreen technology, it may be more than half of the children. We can also drive similar conclusion about their introduction into schools. Thank argue that tablets make use of interactive multimedia displays to stimulate visual, auditory, tactile, and kinesthetic sensory at the same time. Thus, it gives instant feedback to its user's action. But what pedagogical potential can be linked to the use of tablet in a learning context? Well, when looking at the physical aspect of a tablet, facilitates early literacy learning because it's intuitive. The interface is user friendly. It is easily understandable. The author also said that they observed that when that kind of technology, that touch screen technologies, is introduced to younger children, children that are not yet able to read, they still develop some literacy skills in order to read not words but images. For example, they ask a student that haven't yet learned to read the meaning of some pictures that they usually interact with when they are using touchscreen technology. For example, the red square with a white X. Students children were saying that this means exit or escape or cancel. So they quickly associate images, color, or some sort of icons with a meaning, which is actually part of today's reading. Today's reading is not only about words, not only about letters, it's also about images and meanings. some built-in apps or function can help students to visually experiment more abstract concept, for example, orientation, speed and acceleration, shapes, etc., etc. So, um, about the potential link to the use of tablets in a learning context, other authors argue that tablets, because of its tactile interface, allows pupils to introduce to the digital world much earlier in their development. The United States Department of Education in 2011 observed that students as young as 2 years old were able to achieve simple tasks with tablets, like counting and matching images, even though they haven't learned how to count and how to read. So, and managed to do so through self-exploration learning. So basically, without someone asking them to, or teaching them something. The device itself does not guarantee the learning outcomes, like pretty much of the ICT tools, like I always say. But as tablets are most commonly used with applications and software, and this makes it very difficult to address the tablet efficacy or efficiency without taking in consideration the application and software use. And you know how much and how many application there is it exists on that you can download on a tablet or on a smartphone. There's multiple of games, multiple of apps, and in order to properly measure the impact of the tablet in learning, it would need to address that question specifically with some application or some application, and with the high number of them existing on the market, it would be too difficult task to do. But suitable interactive learning content is needed to render them effective. United States Department of Education have also identified 3 different types of tablet apps dedicated for young children. So basically, there is gaming apps, creating apps, and ebook. I'll give a quick example of those. Gaming apps, these are the most commonly seen app on Virtual Store, aka App Store or Google Store. They typically have a main goal and a progressively increase in difficulty. It also exists creating app used to virtually draw or build. It's also in a failure-free environment where you can create stuff. You can create without any without failing, and a quasi almost unlimited range of possible outcomes. Because it's a failure-free environment, and these are the creating apps are the one that are most commonly to be used in class, because while we encourage students to explore at their own pace technology, we might as well want an app that allow that kind of exploration, that kind of own pace exploration. And of course, ebooking for electronic version of book with all basic functionality, where you can read, underline, whatever you can do with traditional book. And some have built-in narrator or interactive feature. For example, clicking on a word, so it shows an example, or it shows an image of that word, in order to better make the students give the students a better understanding of that word. So it might include some feature that are not existing with traditional book or traditional lecture. And these three types of apps are share a common characteristic: instant feedback. And this is the most important characteristic, for the most important feature of touchscreen. Even if we're talking about interactive board or tablets in general, the instant feedback factor is really important for student, in order to give them as well as motivation, but you know, better quality learning. Not instant feedback would be, for example, answering question and writing question, then asking the teacher if the answer are correct. You know, this is not an instant feedback, because an instant feedback would have been like writing an answer, and the application would tell you if the answer is right or not. So children expressing positive attitude toward tablets doesn't mean its use always result in engagement or learning outcomes. Pupils' interaction with tablets or application must be defined by factors like students' prior experience with the device. So if they never used a device like that at home, it will be, of course, more complicated for them to use it properly. Students' development level. You know, I'm talking about cognitive development level of those students in order to properly select the application, and this is the same principle as it is for interactive board, and in the interactive board software, that teachers have to use it and have to test it before the implementation in class, before using the application or technologies in class. This is general rules about introducing ICT. According to Rich and Blanchard, there is a few high quality apps that are specifically designed to promote what they call so what they call emergent literacy skills. Emergent literacy skills basically is skills, reading skills, but reading at a technology era. So not only reading words, but reading meanings, giving means to images, to videos, to all of those emergent literacy skills. And if it's the case, few researchers can tell us about the effect of these apps. So yeah, there's not much research that have been made on that, but still, for example, substantial evidence suggests that ebook reading through a PC, not a tablet though, has a positive effect on emergent literacy skills. It may be tempting to share similar conclusions with ebook reading through touchscreen devices, such as tablets and smartphones, because they share some features. Despite that, ebook reading differs from paper book reading on three major aspects: interactivity, like I said, instant feedback, again, and information type, audio, video, etc., which cannot be included in classic paper book. And these aspects are the main reason to think that tablet and other touchscreen devices can offer new ways of understanding that other conventional devices cannot. And nowadays, students. Sorry, I'll wait. And okay. Um, and nowadays, that students are used to interact with so many electronical or digital devices that need some, you know, new kind of literacy skills, new kind of reading. For example, watching a movie, playing video games in order to understand the message behind, those pictures, behind those interaction with the digital world. They need to develop different skills. They need to develop those digital skills, those new literacy skills in order to understand, because reading is not only about words. It's not only about reading the word, for example, the word classroom, and if I close my eyes, I can see a classroom in my head. It's more than that. It's understanding a message behind, understanding a meaning behind, and this is what those kind of technology can, support. Concerning touchscreen devices in general, they can support new ways of learning, called mobile learning by Schuler and his colleague in 2012. But basically, because their portable nature allows the student to learn virtually everywhere she or he goes, and at any moment of the day. And this is, something that we can actually experience right now. So if I give that class in the morning and some people are not able to show the morning's class, they can uh, watch the video of the class later on that day. So that kind of technology allows that sort of interaction. I'll give you another quick example. um, I used to do a lot of road, a lot of road between my home and where I work. And it is time consuming, spending 3 hours and more on the road. So I can take that time I spend on the road in my car to, for example, watch videos, so I can, follow a class while I'm driving. So, well, I mean, I will not be watching that video. I'll be only listening at the audio, of course. But still, the the portable um, nature of those touchscreen devices allow them allow the students to take that learning everywhere they go. Ubiquitous or seamless learning, as they call it, and making formal and informal learning more accessible. Of course, if you do have access to that technology. Researchers have also noticed some key benefits for students when they use mobile devices for their learning. For example, they observed that the learning was more personalized. Students were more independent, and the the learning was more self-directed. They also noted a development of some metacognitive and collaborative skills. Metacognitive being, thinking about what I did, uh, reflecting upon an action that I've made, or a thought that I have expressed. It also allows a better understanding of the learning process, as the technology can, record some, part of the learning process. And of course, it's over quoted, some increasing the motivation and the autonomy of the students as well. Researchers have also noticed some key benefits for students when they use mobile devices for learning. About collaboration, Van Hoft argues that it is supported because of the high portability factor of mobile devices, and as such they promote or facilitate face-to-face interaction with, FaceTime and Zoom meeting. That's something, those are software that we can use with our mobile devices, and this kind of device allow that, face to face interaction, even though this is a virtual face to face interaction that, we not have fully access to the advantage of being, all at the same physical place. And on the other hand, there is of course a negative side of using touchscreen devices in class, as it may be a source of distraction. If you ever teach in a classroom, smartphones might be something that gives you nightmare. And if you do have kids as well, video games might be, too much of time consuming. Use it for other than educational purposes. Or some students having access to this kind of device at home while others cannot afford. This might create some inequalities between students. And other unknown issues, for example, the impact of exposure of the human eye to blue light for an extended period of time might cause some damage to the human eyes. I am experiencing it myself with some headache, for a longer exposure of the human eye over, the blue screen, which cause some headache and some longer damage that we do not know actually. So yeah. And finally, once again, these are theory-based assumptions. Theory-based assumptions do not allow us to clearly state on the educational impact of touchscreen devices, but because there is, and I do love that quote, but because there's an empirical knowledge void on that topic, we cannot measure the impact of using tablet in class. We cannot actually measure the learning outcomes. We cannot say that using a tablet will facilitate learning or will impede on learning. We simply do not know that. But the things we know is that the usage, or at least the impact of the use of that technology in class, depend on many other factors, and one of those factors is the stowing between the technology that we use and the pedagogical intention, and this might be the most important factor that we think of a technology that can, help us to achieve some of the objective that we have set it up. And regarding, of course, to the class content, the nature of the class content, as well as, the experience with technology of the students, the configuration of the classroom, these are all factors that we have to take in consideration when integrating those technologies. This wraps up the today's class content. I told you that it was going to be much more shorter than a 3-hour class, I don't know if that's the case for you as well, but I'm totally wet all over. My I will have to change my t-shirt because it's uh, not the best condition of teaching. I miss that air conditioner in my office at the university and in the classroom. Even though if I complained about the fact that it was too cold, I do regret that saying that today. So yeah, I will actually right now end the live streaming on YouTube on my YouTube channel. There you go.